Back when I was in college, I used to work evening shifts in a bagel shop that happened to be right next door to this little cafe. As the bagel place was geared to be like a health nut spot, whereas all the baked goods the coffee shop produced had diabetes inducing levels of sugar in them. Naturally, I'd often call into the bagel place to grab a bite to eat before clocking in for my shift. Since the sugar crash that followed, one of her cinnamon buns was about as debilitating as they come. That's how I met Alex. Alex worked full time at the bagel place, and he was there to take my orders like 9 out of 10 times that I stopped by. It wasn't long before he knew my orders by heart. Shortly after that, we were on a first name basis, and the more familiar we got, the more a little gentle flirting entered into our daily exchanges. After a few weeks of friendly banter, Alex started to seem like more than just the guy handing my bagels. He was always there, always smiling, making small talk about everything from the weather to the latest weird trend in food. One day I walked in and he gave me that trademark grin.
You always get the same thing.
He said, leaning on the counter.
Guess I can't blame you. It's a solid choice.
I shrugged, smiling. Why change perfection? He chuckled, but then his expression shifted a bit, like he was thinking about something else.
So, what's your story? You have been coming in here for a weeks now, and I don't think I have ever asked. Do you have a boyfriend?
I paused, surprised by the question. I mean, we'd been talking a lot, but I never expected him to ask about my relationship status. No, no boyfriend, I said casually, shrugging. Why, you thinking about asking me out? He laughed, but there was a little more sincerity behind it this time.
Well, I was not sure if you were seeing someone or if you just liked the bagels more than me.
He said, half teasing, half serious. I raised an eyebrow. I mean, these bagels are pretty great.
Good to know. Well, if you ever want to grab a drink sometimes, let me know.
I wasn't sure if it was bagel induced sugar high or his unexpected directness, but I found myself agreeing. Sure, why not? And that's when things started to shift. Our first date was awkward. The chemistry was better in the bagel shop than it was over drinks. We didn't really have much to talk about, but I didn't feel like I could just ghost him after one bad date. So I agreed to see him again. For the next couple of weeks, we talked every now and then, but it wasn't like we were inseparable. Then came one day I walked into the bagel shop to find the manager, not Alex, behind the counter. I raised an eyebrow. Is Alex sick or something? She looked over at me, clearly uncomfortable. Oh, you haven't heard? I shook my head, feeling a little weird sense of dread. He's not working here anymore. We decided it was best that we parted ways. Wait, what? Why? I asked, my voice quieter than I meant. Well, she hesitated, then sighed. It's a bit of a long story. I pulled out my phone to text Alex, and her eyes flickered down to it. You know, I'm not sure you're getting the whole picture here. He didn't just get fired for giving out discounts. Then what happened? She leaned in a little closer, speaking softly. We've had complaints from women about him getting too personal, too aggressive. I blinked, my heart dropping. Aggressive? What do you mean? She lowered her voice even further, looking around as if to make sure no one was eavesdropping. He was offering discounts, flirting, and then when the women didn't give him their number, he'd get angry. Really angry. There's security footage of him going off on one customer, yelling, using horrible language, and then when we confronted him, he lied about it. Said the argument was over a fake $10 bill, but the footage told a different story. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. But I didn't know about any of this. She gave me a sympathetic look. You're not the only one, he charmed. Trust me. I just wanted you to know so that you won't go blame yourself. I felt numb walking out of the store. That was a lot of information to take, a mix of disbelief and guilt swirling in my chest. I hadn't known and I hadn't even suspected anything. When I got to work, I ignored Alex's text. When I finished my shift, I checked my phone to find a dozen notifications from Alex. His messages started off gentle,
Have a good shift. Text me when you finish.
but his tone shifted to angry and accusatory, calling me a bootlicker and claiming I'd betrayed him. It left such a bad taste in my mouth that I blocked his number. But that wasn't the end of it. A few days later, while working, I crouched down to stock the mini fridge. When I stood up and turned around, Alex was standing at the register. I tried to stay calm and polite, pretending everything was normal. He ordered a drink, but as I handed it to him, he said loudly,
So I guess you are pretty much done with me, huh?
it was loud enough to attract attention. I muttered, this isn't the time or the place. But he just smiled, nodded, and took a seat in the middle of the store. He sat there for an hour, staring at me between sips of his coffee. From then on, he showed up almost every time I worked, sitting and staring. My boss didn't want to ban him, calling him a little weird. Then that day of dread came. After a long day at duty, I was practically a zombie dragging my body from the bagel shop to my home. I thought of skipping dinner and went straight to bed after the shower. I was fast asleep. Then suddenly, I was awake due to a cold breeze. I opened my eyes slowly to see that I had forgotten to close my window due to exhaustion. After leaving a groan, I pushed the blanket to get up from my bed. But just when I put my feet down on the floor, I saw a haunting sight before me. It was a silhouette of a person. I couldn't believe my eyes and thought that I was only imagining figures as one would in their foggy mindset. I rubbed my eyes, and when I opened them, that silhouette was right in front of me. It was Alex. I screamed my lungs out and crawled back into the furthest corner of my bed. What the hell, Alex? Get out! Get out my house! My sudden outburst didn't faze him. He slowly walked forward and sat at the edge of the bed, his face shadowed but still recognizable. He didn't say anything at first, just sat there, the silence suffocating. I was shaking now, the adrenaline making it hard to breathe. What do you want? How did you even? He tilted his head, his eyes cold, almost unrecognizable.
I just wanted to talk. I wanted to know why you have been avoiding me.
My heart raced as I stared at him, trying to process the words. Avoiding him? How could he not see that everything he had done was the reason? You need to leave, I whispered, my voice shaking. I don't ever want to see you again. Alex's eyes narrowed slightly, but he didn't move.
You are being dramatic. I'm not going to hurt you.
Please, Alex, just go.
I would, if you just listen to me.
I knew I might not get out of this situation by panicking, so I tried a different technique. What could you possibly have to say for yourself? I know about everything. How could you ask for those girls' number when you asked me for a date? Alex was dumbfounded, to say the least. He totally wasn't expecting to hear those words from me. What? Cat caught your tongue? I thought you liked me when you were being a total flirt. I didn't want to give you the time to lie to me again. Alex was silent for a whole minute, maybe. Then he said,
I was just being friendly.
his voice low. Eureka, that's exactly what I needed. Is asking random girls' number necessary to do that?
I guess not. I'm sorry, Sarah. Please give me another chance. I will be good this time.
After giving him my best contemplating facial expressions, I acted to give in. Fine, apology accepted. Now, as much as I think this is some Romeo Juliet scene, I really need to get my sleeping hours in. We can talk about this tomorrow somewhere. I'll text you. At this, his face brightened and he got up from the bed and couldn't stop saying thank you. After mumbling a quick goodbye, he was out of my place. Just as I was sure he was away for good, I got my phone out and called 911. Cops came immediately, and after hearing my side of the story and watching my CCTV footage, they quickly left to catch him. When Alex got caught, police found a kidnap kit with him. He had a rope, duct tape, and a teaser. He had a plan B already. His history and the proofs police found was enough to lock him in for 22 years for conspiracy to kidnapping. I was so glad I watched those true crime documentaries and acted fast to get out of that situation. If you find yourself in a similar situation, my suggestion would be to not let it go this far.